from here on out, every generation, our kid, every other generation will have life with social media. We are the last generation. I think that's a gift, and I think it's a privilege, and I think we have to therefore come out of the matrix and pay attention to and set rhythms, because there's an epigenetic transfer onto our kids of our behaviors, our thinking, literally how we feel, what we think, how we behave, influences the cells of our kids even more so than genetics do. This is called epigenetics. It's research-based. It's huge. So, in fact, upward of 95% of what is passed on to our kids are those things. I don't even know why I got into all that, other than to say, I just want us to get out of the matrix, start asking the why questions. Why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we doing, all of the things. That's what this whole season is about. And what is robbing you of good?
I won't lose hope in the night when the fire's growing dim. I'll just let go and I'll try. Help me walk this road and find my way back home. Find my way back home. Find my way home.
Welcome back to the Famous at Home podcast. It's a joy to be with you today, as always, and it's an unbelievable joy to be with you, Christi.
Lovey, stop. Go on, more.
I
Okay,
love
keep
you.
It going.
I love being here. I'll tell you what, today's the first day that we actually have our new, I don't know if you're watching this on YouTube, you're about to see it a little bit, but we have our new little critter behind us laying in the corner.
Can you see him?
Our new Great Pyrenees puppy. You can see him a little bit. You can catch a little bit of a glimpse. Yeah.
He'll probably.
He's a gem.
He's such a good boy.
I love this dog.
He's such a good boy.
His name is Bo, and we got him. If you follow along on the podcast, we have chickens and we have some goats now, and we're in, slowly move the ducks. Yeah, they got gone.
May they rest in peace.
But we need to have an animal to protect those animals, and
that's Bo's
us
job
too, and that's Bo's job. Although right now he's a little bit scared, so.
He is. Copper, the other
our
dog.
Golden Doodle's the one who's like,
he
ferocious.
Goes the fence line, and he keeps everything out, which has been amazing. But it's because they're buds now. Yeah. He's out here not by himself anymore, you know? Copper used to be like the Golden Doodle that wore pajamas and sleeps inside on our bed. And now he sleeps out in the little cabin
he does.
with Bo. He doesn't come inside
But he's
anymore.
happier. He's less anxious.
Listen, he's living his
best life. And can we just say, as we are in season 3 of moving beyond the matrix, that there's something to be said for our dog who was living it up in PJs and in bed, but was anxious all the time.
Oh, this is a word.
To now being outside with a friend, living his best life and not being as anxious.
Okay, do you know what I want to talk about right now?
I want to hear what you want to talk about.
Dog sledding.
And
the dogs. Tell them what we learned. Okay, so we went to Montana with our dearest friends, and we had the best time. We were literally children the entire time. But we went dog sledding. And I had been once. I'm Canadian, remember? So in college, I took a winter camping class. Yes, that was a class. And we went up to Northern Ontario, and we went, you wear snowshoes because there's 8+ feet of snow. So you literally will fall through, and you pull your sleds, and we did the whole thing. We slept in quinsies, which is basically an igloo that you make out of snow, pile it up. I could talk for hours about it. It was so fun. Okay. But then one day we went dog sledding. I don't know why they let us drive, but they actually let us mush, which I fell off, peed my pants. It was the best story. I laughed so much. So I was like,
this wasn't the trip we went on with our friends.
No,
this was a different trip.
That was in college. That was in college. So to our friends and to Josh, I was like, guys, we have to go dog sledding. That's my one request. We go dog sledding. And they're like, done. Let's do it. Josh books it. This guy is legit. He has 100 and what?
He had 118 dogs.
18 dogs that all sleep outside, and they look like they're chained up to their little, they each have their little house and they go there.
They have to be chained up, or if not, they'll just run.
Yeah.
They take off and they run.
So like running is like the delight of their life. Like this is what they live for. So he wants them all. He tries to get them all running at least once a day because this is like their joy. And these dogs, like they hook them up, they jump because they are so excited to run, like to do the thing they're meant to do. And let me just tell you, by the way, not all these are like what you think of as like a sled dog. Like some of them are, what wasn't one like a little
he rescues all of them.
Beagle or
Most
something?
Of them. Yeah. He rescues
Anyway,
them.
it was.
And so a lot of them are mutts
Yeah.
But he rescues them and then he brings them into the dog sledding component and they love it. And what's fascinating about this, so he told me about this dog that lived to be 23 years of age. And
like 23
I asked
years
him, I said,
old.
what is the average age? He said they live anywhere between 17 and 23. And he just pulled one of the dogs off. I think it was like 15 or 16, just got pulled off of the dog sledding. And I'm going, how do they live so long? Number one, he feeds them pure meat, doesn't feed them dog food, feeds them pure meat. And so they get a nutritious, natural diet. They also, this was the most fascinating part of it. They get exercise, they get diet, but they live in their purpose. They are allowed to do what they were made to do.
Guys, is this the whole podcast today?
And so I'm like, holy smokes.
This is
like,
the message.
These dogs are bred, like they live their lives in their purpose. And we're not even talking about purpose today.
I know that's like 3 episodes out, but I feel like
we're
this
living,
could just be.
But the key is today we're talking about celebrating the good. In other words, living in abundance. These dogs are living in abundance. They are living in the abundance of what God has called them to do. I just think it's awesome. And it was a huge lesson for me. And it was
a
lovely.
huge lesson for all of us. We were like, what? Like, what dog lives 17 to 23 years? And this is like all of them. This isn't just like one. And it was so profound to us that like these dogs, it was actually like a very spiritual experience and emotional to be with those dogs and to witness them do what they love and to just be a part of it. And when those sleds took off, like I cried, my friend cried, like it was beautiful. Like it was
a really sweet experience. We're going through the woods and snow and it was beautiful. I think, as we look at this, I think about the matrix.
Josh is going to try to wrap this
well,
I just went off on dog sledding.
The matrix that we find ourselves in is the matrix that we find ourselves in. And again, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. So these are nothing. You can't take any of this. You got to take all this with a grain of salt. But there's something to be said about the Make America Healthy Again movement. And part of getting out of the matrix is asking ourselves, what are we putting into our bodies? What are we putting into our dogs' bodies? Are we getting the exercise that we need? And I'm only speaking of this out of real life experience, having made a shift probably about 2 years ago into more carnivore eating diet.
Yeah.
It has worked for me. I love eating protein. I love eating meat. I love eating eggs. I love eating just as pure as I can. And it's made me feel alive. I'm 45 years old, feeling the best I ever have. I'm working out. I'm getting exercise. And so it makes a ton of sense that these dogs are able to go do what they do. And now we're revamped a podcast. We've revamped Famous at Home because we want to live out of our God-given calling. And that's what we are hoping to challenge you to do as well, is to live out of your God-given calling as a family so that your kids experience that same thing. And that's what these dogs are getting to do. And that's what we hope to encourage, coach, disciple you all to do as well. And that's why, so let me make this transition real quickly. The next cohorts, Field Experience and Tender and Fierce, by the way, are rocking and rolling. They are just some of the most life-giving things that we do.
I could cry.
And I just did a live, we have an app. We have a Famous at Home app. We haven't fully released that yet, although it is out there.
By the way, I told a friend yesterday because she was like, how is it working with Tender and Fierce? Like, how are the women? I was like, oh, they communicate through the app. She was like, you never told me you had an app. And I was like, yeah. We haven't really told anyone except those in the groups right now. And they've been kind of our beta testers.
Are using it, and you can use it. We'll be launching we'll be launching more officially later. But if you listen to the podcast and you're listening to this episode, you're in on a little secret. It's ready. You can download it. Just go to your app store, type in Famous at Home. But I was live on the app yesterday in the community with the men. It was phenomenal. We get to connect. And these groups we have decided to use in order to help you all grow, help us grow, to have community, because what we have found is that so many families are alone. And we want to live differently. This is moving beyond the matrix. We want to move differently. We want to live differently. And we want to invite you into that so that we are not feeling alone, that you are not feeling alone, that there is community and that we can do this. And these are ongoing groups. They start as 3-month cohorts. You can choose to continue if you'd like. But we are really finding it life-giving for us. And all the men and women who are going through them are finding it life-giving. Cohort 2 for 2025 for both Tender and Fierce and the Field Experience are now open. So if you go to the website today, you can register. Both of those will begin in April. So they begin a little bit later down the road, but you can register at the early bird, super early, special early pricing that we have available, whatever you want to call it. We have early pricing. You can check that out. Right now, as of this week, it is officially live that you can register for Cohort 2.
Let's go. Actually got me emotional when you said it. I can't tell you. Last night, can I tell you a little behind the scenes peek? I was sitting in this chair. Usually I do it over here against a wider wall, and I need to be up, and we were doing like a standing stuff and moving stuff. And so I had to be up. And so I moved over here last night, and for the first time ever in all the times I've done this, it literally kicked me off of Zoom, said I was behind some sort of firewall, and like, I'm the host. It kicks me off. I can't get in. All the women are still there. I didn't know that, but I got a text from someone who was like, we're all here, but you're gone. I would not let me back in. I could not get back in. They're all in there and they're all chatting back and forth. And we had just finished something and they were processing it all together. And it was just the wildest. And what we were about to go into was this encounter with Jesus. And it just struck me last night because in all transparency, like I went into last night being like, it's one of my favorite sessions, but like I know it. And so it was one of this, like, I've got this, I don't need to prep. Like I had prepped earlier in the day, but I was like, okay, great. I've got this. So I kind of went in nonchalant, and then I realized I get kicked off the internet somehow, cannot get back on. I ended up being able to finally get back on my phone, but I can't record it. I can't, all these things. And like, none of it even made sense. None of it made sense. And I realized I can't take this lightly. The prayer aspect of, and how important it was. And I think it was neat for all of us as women to see, like, the enemy hates this. And it was very clear, and we were able to do it, and they were able to encounter Jesus. It was a little choppy because I'm on my cell phone, but we did it anyway. And I think it was still really beautiful. It was just really profound to me. Like, this matters and prayer matters. And so all of that preface to say, if you are feeling led to the Field Experience or Tender and Fierce, I encourage you, start praying now and gather people around you to pray. Cause this stuff, like, it changes lives. And I don't say that, like, this isn't us. This is just what God does. But to gird yourself up in prayer and to actually ask people around you to start interceding for you in this, because it is a marker moment, I believe, in lives, and it matters. And so I just get so pumped.
Yeah. And the guys are getting push notifications every single day. And so some of the things I'm hearing from them is that it's the first time in their life that they really feel like they're pursuing God, or that God is pursuing them in a way where they don't feel shame. And that they don't feel guilt about not keeping up, or not, having to do a certain thing, or some, spiritual disciplines a certain way. And so it's just, it's really cool. I mean, it's,
I'm waving a white hanky over here in my mind.
So
amen.
Today we're talking about celebrating the good. We're talking about 5 familial shifts that families are longing for. We did. We just celebrated the good in this episode, and we didn't even try to do that.
And do you know that, like, you started talking about the dog, and I just went off on, like, sled dogs and, like,
it was perfect episode. It was perfect for the episode. It was great. I love it.
It was the good.
And that was part of us celebrating the good, as we took time to go on a little trip as a family. I mean, not as a family, but you and me with friends. And we left the kids behind so that we could have space. I mean, so we homeschool too. So let's wrap all this in together here. We have 5 familial shifts we're talking about, 5 shifts that families are longing for that we see today. We started with rest. Last week, we talked about simplicity. This week, we're talking about, we didn't put this word in the title. We put more so celebrating the good, but really what that means is abundance, that we live in abundance. And that was a word that Christi and I decided to use as our word of the year for 2025. We never did that before. We never had a word together. But what we meant by that is, not just financial abundance. We tend to think of abundance being financial. What we're referring to here is our ability to understand and experience that every single day God has given us the time needed to accomplish everything we need to do in that day. Yeah. And if we don't get something done, at the end of that day, we weren't just not supposed to have gotten it done. And we can be okay with that. And I think we talked about this in the rest episode where, and I'm just going to anchor it here just briefly. Genesis chapter 1, God creates the world. Every single day starts with the evening. Every single day. He creates 6 days. He creates 7. 7th is to rest. But in the days that he creates, Hebrew calendar always begins in the evening and ends, it starts at sundown and ends the following at the, sundown to sundown. That's the day. So it starts in the evening, ends in the morning, right? Evening came and then morning, day 1. Mm-hmm. Evening came and then morning, day 2. And so you have that rhythm where we start in rest, having the best meal, sleeping, moving then into waking up, walking with God in the cool of the day.
Coffee. Let's think about that. It really is the best parts. And then
using the rest of the day that you have left to go carry out what God has accomplished. And then
has already accomplished.
At the end of every one of those days, after you're done just being awake and living out what you're supposed to, it says that he looked at it and saw that it was good. It was good. It was good. And then he gets to humans and he says, it is very good. Mm-hmm. And so this is what we mean by celebrating the good in your life, because this is an atmospheric shift in your home. We talk about this in one of the chapters. This is decision number 2 in the Famous at Home book that we coach families through, is you have to shift the atmosphere of your home. And if the atmosphere of your home is there's never enough time, I don't have enough of this, we're living in fear, you have the news on 24/7. If you're caught up in the world's stuff, and by the way, this is screen time too. So if you're on X or Twitter, or you're following all the news, or you're living on Instagram and you're gathering this is a portal. The screens are a portal that allow spiritual energy into your home. I'm not talking new age here. I'm just talking, this is, it when you get off of a screen, how it influences how you feel. Yeah. It when you get off of watching the news or do whatever screen you're on, whatever you're doing, how you feel if it's a movie or a television show after you've watched that very thing that you're watching. There is energy that is coming off of whatever it was you were watching into your life, and you feel that. And I think we have to pay attention as part of the matrix. I saw this meme it's not a meme, it was a quote the other day, or just someone mentioned this. We are the last generation on this earth that will ever experience life without social media. Whew. From here on out, every generation, our kid, every other generation will have life with social media. We are the last generation. I think that's a gift, and I think it's a privilege, and I think we have to therefore come out of the matrix and pay attention to and set rhythms, because there's an epigenetic transfer onto our kids of our behaviors, our thinking, literally how we feel, what we think, how we behave, influences the cells of our kids even more so than genetics do. This is called epigenetics. It's research-based. It's huge. So, in fact, upward of 95% of what is passed on to our kids are those things. And those things, music, even influences the cells of our body. I don't know if you've seen this, but Beethoven's Fifth Symphony actually shows that it heals cancer cells. It heals bad cells in your body and has no influence on good cells. In other words, it leaves the good cells alone. It allows the good cells to regenerate, and it heals bad cells. Music, the types of music, the waves of the music, all these things influence us. But we have to pay attention to it. Yeah. We have to look at it and go, these are things. Yes, these are things that influences how we think, how we feel, how we behave. And I don't even know why I got into all that other than to say, I just want us to get out of the matrix, start asking the why questions. Why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we doing, all of the things. That's what this whole season is about. And what is robbing you of good? Yeah. That's the point I'm trying to make, I think. Yeah. What is robbing you of the good in your life and preventing you from seeing the good that you're creating, the good that you're doing, the good in your home, the good in your family? And
can I speak to that actually a little bit?
Yes.
Because there actually is a reason.
You are allowed because you're on this podcast and you're sitting there and you have a microphone. So Thanks. I want you to speak to it.
Thanks.
Please.
Because there could be a tinge of shame, right? Of like, why am I not celebrating the good? Like, why? Like, what's wrong with me? Ugh, yeah. See, like, here I go again. Like, I don't even see the good. This is all on me. Okay. There's actually a reason that you can't see the good. And I talked about this a couple weeks ago in Tender and Fierce. So if you imagine that you are a soldier that is defending a fort, or you are on the battlefield, you are scanning at all times for threat, expecting it, right? Like you are expecting threat is coming, and therefore your eye is attuned to any semblance, hint, suggestion of threat. That is what it's looking for. So if it were to see like a beautiful flower off in the corner, like that's not just not on your radar. That would be dangerous for it to be on your radar because it would distract you from the potential of threat, meaning harm to you. And so if you are a person that is living in a chronic state of threat, which would be indicated by feeling anxious, feeling worried, feeling on edge, feeling agitated, or feeling any level of numbness, depression, dissociation. Like if you're living on what we would call like these two lower levels of our nervous system ladder, your entire body is under the assumption that you are under attack. There's impending threat. And therefore, your eye is looking not for good, not for loveliness, not for wonder and creativity and beauty, because that's not only not helpful, it's actually dangerous. And so I just want to throw so much level, like a such like blanket of compassion on you. If you are living in those places, it makes sense that good is hard for you to see. Or if you notice it, it's this quick, like, oh, like you watch your kids playing or doing something sweet. You watch, your sweet puppy back here cuddled in the corner, and it's like, oh, cute. And very quickly, the brain will shift back to, but I've got to do this. It could be an agenda item, a to-do list item. It could be a fear. It could be a worry. It could be like anything that feels like the threat, like whatever it is you're trying to outrun, comes right back into your forebrain. And so just like make that make sense. Of course that makes sense. If you are expecting threat, you are going to be looking for it, and you should. That's how you keep yourself safe. And that is literally why I do Tender and Fierce, is to get you out of states of threat, because there is no other way to start to nourish the nervous system and like your physiology, like your full physical body, your spiritual, your emotional, your physical being back to a state of wonder and loveliness. And until we start to do that, like the good things are going to be really hard. Like you're going to keep forcing yourself to like, why am I missing it? What's wrong with me? Like, why don't I experience joy anymore? But
look at you being the mercy giver.
I know. In this way, I am a mercy giver because I get it.
Mercy giving is one of my spiritual gifts. However,
there.
so here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to you have to start somewhere. And
right.
I'm lovingly pushing you. And I'm only saying this because I have experienced this. Yeah. I've experienced this shift into celebrating the good when I was living in perpetual, we were living in perpetual, not enough, not enough time, not enough of everything. I mean, just the sense of, like we lived in this. And I will say it has taken us time, and I think it does take time. However, I also believe that Jesus can heal stuff very, very fast in your life. I genuinely believe I have been set free of a lot of these things, realizing that, you know what, I'll get done today what needs to get done, and what I don't, it'll just have to wait till tomorrow, and everyone else is going to have to wait for that. And I'm okay with that.
Which is like, just to
But again,
interject, that is a miracle.
That's a miracle for me.
That is a miracle for the way he used to function, where he was so like dedicated and efficient and like committed, but it took over like that.
And what's crazy is I'm way more efficient and way more productive.
I'm sure.
And way more fruitful than I've ever been in my entire life. And I'm not running like I used to.
Because you're out of threat. And you think clearest, you're calmest. When you've moved out of threat and you are at the top of your ladder, you are moving. You're creative, you're competent, you're clear, you can make decisions. Like, it makes complete sense.
And this is what we mean by abundance. Like, we can live in abundance knowing that we have enough time today. Your days are already numbered.
Yeah.
God already knows how long you're gonna live your life. And I'm good with that. I know that. Now, does that mean that I'm just going to, float around? No. In fact, if we're getting practical of how we live out of abundance, one of the most significant strategies for me that has helped me live out of abundance is to wake up early in the morning, go to bed early and wake up early. So I go to bed early enough that I can wake up by 5:30. I have a workout in. I'm working out. I'm staying healthy. I feel so much better. I mentioned this earlier. I feel so much better when I eat well and I work out. So it may start with physical growth or physical health, like working out, 3 to 4 days a week. It might be that you're getting 8 hours of sleep. I was laying in bed at 4 a.m. this morning. I was wide awake. And I was thinking about getting up at 4. And I was going to come work out. And I was praying, and
this was not my morning.
and the Lord goes, no, sleep is going to be better than working out. Like, if you're starting somewhere, sleep is better than working out. Like, getting 8 hours of sleep a night is better for your health than, like, don't sacrifice sleep for working out. So I stayed in bed till 6, and I came and worked out later. So, that early morning window for me, and again, I'm not saying this is something you need to do. What I'm saying is find the one thing. We talk about this in the Famous at Home book. Find the one thing that will begin to open up your day and give you life and give you abundance in your life. And again, that's why I say this was years. So again, it could be related to your physical health. It could be related to waking up early so that you have some alone time before kids are out of bed or that type of thing. It's setting healthy patterns. The other practical that I would throw out here is, just as God at the end of every day when he created the earth said, it is good. At the end of every day, sitting around the dinner table with your family, look back, or maybe you're tucking your kids into bed at night. You can do this when you're tucking them in bed. You can do it at dinner table. You can do it with your spouse as you crawl in bed. What was the good that happened today? State one good thing. Again, this is an atmospheric shift in your home. You're trying to shift the atmosphere of your home to celebrating the good. We're not just like, oh, I didn't get this done. We have a son who's just like, I didn't get this done. I got to do this. I got to get this done. And we're like, dude, like, it's not the end of the world. Like, you'll get it done tomorrow then, right? There's enough time today. There's enough time tomorrow. You're going to get it done. And shifting even the way we speak is how we shift the home over time.
And I'm thinking like gratitude journaling. Like, this is a big thing right now, right? Where people are like, you're journaling the things you're grateful for. I think it's beautiful. And yes, it does rewire the brain. But what's really powerful is, like, you said the word speak. Last night in Tender and Fierce, we added voice. Meaning we started to use our voice to speak. And the women's all said, like, my gosh, like, I was not expecting that to be so powerful. In an exercise that we had done before, and we were just adding our voice it was a very calm statement, but it was using your voice, and it is literally like declare with your mouth, like the word of your testimony. And with our kids, we will do the, what was your favorite part of the day? We'll do our, some people do like high-low or check-in around the table. But even when we were in Montana with our friends, we went around and we were like, what was your favorite part of the day? Like 4 adults. And like, we got emotional, like sharing some of them. And it was like, we were having really great days. Like, every moment could be a high. But what was so interesting was hearing everyone's different one. And one of them, like for Josh, I remember, it was calling our kids like FaceTiming our kids back home, and all of our kids happened to be together at the time, and seeing them all back home we had grandparents and a babysitter with one family, and but they were all together. They were all having dinner together, and they were just great. They were so happy. They were peaceful. And it was also seeing Josh's parents there with our kids and our friends' kids. And it was like they've created this little family unit back home. And for Josh, I think that was even dog sledding day. And you were like, that was my favorite part of the day, was watching them all together. And there's something about speaking it out loud where others hear you. They hear the testimony of the goodness of God in your life that sometimes we miss in our own life. And it takes someone else to say it, because he said that. Like, I was going to like the high fun parts and eating a lot of candy and stuff, because that was what we did. And
as we talk about getting healthy,
listen, everything in balance. Okay. I do not do full carnivore because I like carbohydrates. In balance, but we went totally out of balance for these days, and it was great, and I got my childhood back. But when you said that, I think we were all emotional, because it was like, whoa, I missed that. Like, it was good, but I missed declaring that how good it was, and it was like it sunk in deep.
Well, I think to your point, we take each other for granted in our homes, and you think about what, even as we think about our marriage, or there's so much that Christi brings to my life that I often do not. I take her for granted. I just assume that because she is as awesome as she is, I just assume she knows she's awesome. And so therefore it's easy to go throughout your day prioritizing the kids or your work or whatever, and forgetting to just voice it and put it out there. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see how delighted she is right now.
So you could voice it, like, say more words.
And so,
like how?
And so let me say this real quickly.
No, you're skipping it. Go back.
You are, all right. Hold on 1 second. I don't want to lose my train of thought here. I have a train of thought.
We'll find the train later if it matters. This matters.
The smile to my face right now. I wouldn't have smiles without you. I wouldn't have grown to the point that I am without you. I wouldn't be free spiritually without you. I wouldn't be, I genuinely would not be as healthy as I am as a human in every area of my life without you. So, I mean, that's the reality of it.
Thanks, Lovey. I mean, samesies. I'm a little more fun, but like, you're really up-leveling in every way in your fun factor.
Did you say you're a little more fun?
I am a little more fun. But
so
you see Josh, he's like committed to the train, and I'm like, what train? Like, let's just forget the train. And I think we're a good balance that way, because you're going to come back to the train, but then we're going to get off here and you'll be like silly and fun again.
Yeah. I'm not committed even to this train. Like, you have, this is where it's helpful. Christi has a high and she can have a low.
Yeah, that's true.
I pretty much am just like steady Eddie for most things. I don't really get too high or too low. And I think that's kind of a big
volunteer for that role. I just had, as women track our cycles, I had one of those, I have like one day a cycle where I just cry about everything. Like, and it's not even like, it's not sad. Like, everything touches me. Like, I read something and I cry. I text people and I cry, and I just feel all of my life all that one day. I don't know if people relate to this. And Josh will be like, yeah, I don't feel it like that.
You don't feel like that. I also don't have a cycle.
That's true. That's true.
I also don't have a cycle.
And this probably is why. But
I have moments like that.
Yeah,
I had a moment like that last week, and then I came out to the garage or out here to the cabin, and I opened my Bible and I prayed and journaled, and and it lingered for a while throughout the day, but I just kept consecrating those feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think even to that point, celebrating the good and shifting the atmosphere in your home is being able to look at the crying days, to look at the overwhelming days, to look at all of those things and to be able to turn it into a praise to God, as opposed to really honing in on the negative and the uncomfortable and what really. And it's not that we're ignoring it. We want to voice it. I would voice it all day to the Lord. Lord, teach me. What is it you want me to know about this? And however, I think what this is the matrix, is the tendency is to hone in on the bad, the not enough, the lies of the enemy, the lies that we believe about ourselves, the lies of the world around us.
Which when you're living
the dread of the news.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right? Like those are all threats. Like I'm doing those little air quotes. So that makes sense that you're attuning to that. But like Josh said, you can unlearn it. And that's exactly,
right.
It's literally rewiring a brain, which sounds complicated. It's actually not. It's doing the opposite. And like you can do it somatically through body-based work. You can do it through your eyes. You can do it spiritually. And I'm just saying, this is like, I don't want to, it's not like I'm trying to pitch Tender and Fierce. It's literally what we do in Tender and Fierce, because I know how much it matters. I was on the bottom rung of life for such a long season, and it was awful. I had 17 years of chronic pain, because living in fight or flight will not allow your body to detox, rest, repair, because you're living in a chronic state of threat. And I had no idea. I had no clue. And so I had 17 years of almost early immobility, where I couldn't take care of my children. I couldn't lift them in and out of their car seats or in and out of their crib. Like Josh had to carry our babies. And I know what it cost me, and I know that it matters. And I do not want this for other women, when I know now what I know, not only can help, it can heal. And so if you are in a place where you're like, I want to see the good, like lean in whatever way you feel God prompting you to. You can, you will, your whole life can change. I feel like, and I'm saying this, like I'm egging him on to tell me how great I am, because I just love to hear it, but also because I feel like that person now. Like years ago, I would have been like, I don't even want to know what you're going to say, because I don't believe it. I don't feel like I am worthy. I don't feel I'm not contributing joy to this family. In fact, I am the worst version of me that I've ever been. And that was true in those early years of life, or our kids' lives, I mean.
Yeah.
And so here we are all these years later, and I celebrate not what I have done, but what God has done in both of us. And I know that if I can do it, gosh, so can you. I
want to go back to what I was saying earlier, because you talked about the kids. Well, no, I'm back on the train. I'm trying to get back on the train. I'm trying to get that thought out.
Yeah.
Is so often what happens when we want to celebrate the good is that, as Christi was saying earlier, we can't be curious, because we're constantly going to the next thing. And our kids pick up on that. Our kids are picking up on our negative energy, our negative words, our tongue, what we're saying, tone of voice, all those things. Our kids pick that up. And I think they end up mirroring who we are. Like we know that research shows that our kids become who we are. And so I just really want to encourage you that one other strategy for celebrating the good in the day, where you will look at it and you will go, I dread this. Christi said, do the opposite thing. You look at it and you go, I dread this. I do not want to do it. Is if your kids ask you to do something, if you can't come up with a legitimate reason for not doing it, say yes. Because so often our kids are getting no, can't do this, can't do that. They're getting, don't do this, don't do that. They're getting shut down negatives all day long. And just like it is with Christi, where maybe we're taking each other for granted and we're not voicing how awesome each other is proper grammar.
I don't know. Pick one.
We do the same with our kids. And so our kids get negative instead of positive. And research shows that anywhere from 5 to 20, I don't know what the actual research is. Some say 5, some say up to 20 positives for every negative. Sit down and say yes to your kids. Last night I played Tea Store or Tea Shop, and I went to the tea shop.
It's a tea shop. I just want to clarify.
Tea shop.
Like it's a tea shop.
We went to the tea shop
is
My
so
oldest
cute.
son and I went to the tea shop with our youngest son and daughter, and
They run the tea shop.
They run the tea shop. It was awesome. We went to the tea shop last night.
Can I just say, like, it's very well organized. Their
It
tea
was
shop.
very well organized. You can place your order. There's menus.
It's adorable.
One's cooking in a tent with a box fan. The other one is taking your order and bringing your food. It was pretty epic, and it tasted great as cloth food and plastics do. Wood cups.
Yeah.
And so, but say yes. Because here's the reality. This is the upside down kingdom of God. Mm-hmm. When you say yes to the very thing that you dreaded doing, you find that it was the most joyful, mm-hmm. good thing that you did that day. Mm-hmm. And the most joyful, good parts of my day are the very things that feel hard. Mm-hmm. Sitting down with my kids and playing a game that you don't want to play, or toys that you don't want to play, that you know that you're not going to get to actually dictate the play because they're going to dictate it. Getting up at 5:30 to work out. Choosing yogurt instead of ice cream. Sitting with my wife and asking about her day and telling her how awesome she is rather than trying to get an answer from her for something we need for work.
Do you dread that?
Oh, I didn't think about it in that context.
This started with,
I don't dread that. I don't dread that. It's just that if I have something on my brain about something we need like for work or we need to talk through, it's hard to shut the thing down to enter in and be truly present when you know that there's stuff you have to talk through that isn't talked through. It'd be the same with you if my parents were coming or your parents were coming and we had things to plan and I'm just wanting to chill out and you're like, Josh, join me in this.
Josh.
I can't get, we got to get this done.
Yeah.
We've been there.
We've been there.
Anyway, I hope these are helpful. We just want you to celebrate the good because the matrix that we are in will not in any way encourage you to celebrate the good. Yes. You in the pink.
Thank
Purple.
you so much. It's my favorite thing. I used to play teacher as a child. It's my favorite thing. Put up your hand, say you in the whatever color you're wearing. I don't know why. It brings me so much joy. I can't even tell you. You're my real friend if you do that for me. If I put up my hand and you're like, yes, you in the pink. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh, mercy. Okay. You had your hand up. Can you talk about what you had your hand up for? Let's do that.
Are you trying to get me back on the train?
I am. I want you on the train.
I am highlighting the good, which is playing childhood teacher games. It makes me feel alive again. Okay, listen. I just want to comment. The good does not have to be big. The good does not have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be monumental. Like, we're not waiting to wow, the house is clean today. Like because your brain is going to go to this part that's not organized. It's going to go to but not everything. Not everything is good. I am saying like a small, very small detail of something that was good.
Kind of like so small, like that stink bug that's about ready to crawl into your mouth.
No.
Stink bug on the microphone. That's actually epic.
We're in an 18. What is this cabin from?
I don't know. 1800s.
1800s cabin. I would like to say a fun fact. Here, James Polk, the president, campaigned from the floor of this cabin.
He did.
It carries much history. Much music.
It does not need to start small. I don't want to make sure we miss your point.
It does need to start small.
It can start small.
Yes. Like very small.
I actually thought about this as we were preparing for this episode. Do not despise the day of small beginnings is what the word says.
That's it.
In other words, don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. And we are a little bit further along on this journey because we've been living this healing journey for many years. If you're in the beginning of your healing journey, do not compare your journey to where we are. Compare your journey to compare your journey right now, tomorrow, to where you were today.
Yeah.
Right? Compared to yourself. Like, okay. Yeah.
And just to you will have confirmation bias. So it's like you hear the analogy. You buy a Jeep, all of a sudden you see all the Jeeps on the road. Like you notice. You will start to pay attention to that which you notice. And so if I challenge you this week to notice good, That could look like order. It could look like loveliness. It could look like beauty. It could look like a moment of creativity or wonder or delight. But if you start to tune your physical eyes to see it, you will start to notice it. This is how you literally begin to rewire a brain. It changes the neurobiology of your brain. And that's why this is so powerful. So I'm just going to give an example. As I've been sitting here, I've been watching our little pack of chickens just kind of fluttering through. And one has gotten pecked, which could be a bad thing, but it has one feather that like sticks up kind of wonky. And when she goes by, it's like tick, 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 with her one little feather. And so it's just so cute. Like, she's just so sweet. So even in bad, like, can you see it? The wonder, the quirkiness, the creativity, the delight of something. And just notice if you can find something like really small. There's also a little baseball right here that the dogs use to chase. And it's like sitting in the grass amongst and our grass is brown because it's February and and there's like dead sticks all around it. But that little baseball, if I look at that, I will start, like the corners of my mouth start to go up because like I'll watch the dogs chase it. And that's a sweet moment. Like celebrate the good, the little bits of good.
Yeah. And as I sit here, what I keep noticing is these like greenish blue eyes.
Oh.
And these
more
perfectly shaped lips and
Lovey.
Yeah, beautiful hair.
Which I didn't even have to do this morning. I just want to say that's the good for me. I woke up and my hair was just done. And I felt fabulous about it.
My dad used to wake up every morning and he would, as a kid, I'd hear him go, "Oh, man," from the bathroom. And I'd be like, "Dad, what's going on? What's wrong?" He'd say, got better look. Or he'd look at me and he'd say, "Happened again." And I'm like, "What?" He says, "Get better looking every day." You picked it up, baby. You've picked it up.
I was like, you're not doing the line right.
Guys, Tender and Fierce Field Experience are now available to register. If you want this type of joy in your life, please go sign up today.
This is very controlled, I'll be honest.
This is very controlled. This is actually very controlled. We would love to have you join us in these coaching discipleship journeys. And that's what I've got.
Until next week, may your heart be awakened and your family see revival.
May you celebrate the good and find your way.
All the